Thank you, Des. That was something I needed.
Just a little dose, you know?
Yeah,
Couple of
I
minutes.
live a pretty hectic life. Part of why I live a hectic life is because, yeah, I like it that way.
Yeah.
Some people like a lot of volume and they can live with it. I'm one of those people, but it's catching up with me
Yeah.
because the body is saying you're not 18, you're not 28, and that's just the truth. So exercise fights that back. But what I just experienced, for those listening, is this wonderful. I mean, it was like 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that, where those watching should know we had a technical problem, and it was getting me a little wired, and so I was in a frazzled state, and then really it was frequencies that brought me back down.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I'd love to hear more about that. How do frequencies make the body and then the mind change?
Well, you'd have to ask Mother Nature, who designed us in balance with frequency. But there's certain frequencies that we know are cathartic to the body, that when you expose and surround the body in those frequencies, our nervous system responds by shifting into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of being in your stress response. So certain frequencies are disruptive to our nervous system and create chaos and create tension and activate parts of our brain that stimulate things like cortisol or that fight and flight response. But the frequencies that we play here, which are 432 hertz, it's a healing frequency that we know from, many scientists have studied this, that when you study the human energy field around that resonance, our body relaxes, and it brings a sense of calmness and peace. So it very rapidly can shift you out of that sympathetic state into that parasympathetic state. And if you do it with other frequencies, there's many that are healing. This is a very common one, and what we play in the music that I write, I tune it to 432 hertz. So normally music's written in 440. So orchestras tune to a different frequency. For this healing music, though, we tune it down to 432, which has been shown to really bring this healing response. So that's why it works so quickly, and you can literally I know from just working with many clients and people that they'll come in with the world on their shoulders,
Yes.
and within 30 seconds or a minute of just focusing on the sound and getting out of our left brain and into our feeling self, into our heart a little more, with the support of the vibration, people just all of a sudden are in a different state. And it really is that simple and that quick.
So we all know music makes us feel better, right? So people that love music love to listen to music to put them in a state of betterness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or bring them into a memory, right? So I listen to 70s music because I really felt good growing up, right?
Right.
Why can't I just listen to a Beatles song over and over and over again? I feel like this is different because I feel like the song, because it's so structured, right? It's structured melodically, which what I just discovered or what I just experienced, I didn't feel melodic in a sense. I felt tone and frequency.
Right.
And maybe I just answered what I was asking, but it's really sound that we're harnessing, right?
Yes.
Not so much music.
Right. So there's a little bit of music. So I write,
Sure,
as you in the
sure.
background, there is, some light orchestration, some light piano, but it's more played in a rhythmic way, in a pattern, than in like, here's verse, chorus, bridge, back to verse,
Exactly.
that type of thing. And also a lot of music, like the Beatles and whatnot, is driven by bass and drums and the rhythm of it, which is very it affects us in our root chakra, so our lowest, like, grounding, which is why we love to dance and jump, and like why the kick of a drum pushes us, like when we're dancing and whatnot. It's a different. It's doing the same thing. It's a different response, but it's in the same field of music and frequency. Be it the Beatles or be it these bowls, and the music that I played affects our body in a certain way. A lot of our music is very root chakra oriented, especially any like dance, hip hop, any of that stuff. It really, it's very root chakra, for lack of a better term. These bowls are a very pure sine wave. And we didn't play the gong yet, which we'll do that next, coming up. But the bowls are a very pure sine wave. And it's the way our mind can focus on it is like almost like we can follow the vibration. And we can hear the resonance in and out.
Yes.
Right? And it's almost like
I was attracted to the in and out.
The in and out. Because you're actually feeling the sine wave. And when you're sitting close to the bowls, you can feel that wave hitting your body, pulsating against your body. So it's moving energy in, easing off, moving energy in, easing off. And that sine wave can be very captivating to the mind. And I know from studying hypnosis, one of the various things that I've studied over the years, the way that you bring yourself or someone into hypnosis is by giving the left brain something to focus on, which then allows the left brain to kind of step aside and allow your deeper mind to step forward, and your feelings and your emotional body and your spiritual body. So when you play these sine waves and these bowls, your mind has something to kind of focus on and meditate on, but then allows for these other parts of yourself to begin stepping forward as well. So you begin to feel more and release the stress, the energy of your body. You're basically tuning your mind to a deeper level, a deeper resonance, by giving that left brain something to focus on. And that's where the sine waves of the bowls, really, they're just a magic tool for that.
It's so magical, because I found myself thinking about the troubles of the day, and then that would wash away, and then it would come back.
Mm-hmm.
But I was careful not to grab onto it too much or wash it away too quickly. I was trying to make it natural, you know what I mean? Because as we've talked about privately, we've talked about sort of people's feeling on meditation. Some people hear the word meditation and they run away. I can't do that. I'm not that person.
Right.
But in fact, what I responded to was natural. I didn't try to make it anything but what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is the easiest form of meditation.
Right.
I find.
Right.
And I encourage anyone to try this, because I've not met someone that even they might need just a little guidance of like how to focus or where they can keep their attention, but I've not met anyone who doesn't respond in a positive way to the energy. So a lot of us, when we try to sit to meditate, our minds are so busy that this idea of sitting cross-legged, which is uncomfortable to most of us, to then breathe and then stop thinking and like go into some blissed out state is just not attainable. I don't like it. I meditate every day. I love meditation, but I can't do that. But what I can do is give myself, I always meditate to music for this reason, because it just instantly helps me and supports me to get out of that busy monkey brain that is going through all the tasks of the day.
That's a great word.
So I really encourage people to use this tool. And then there's different ways you can apply it, and you can direct it. So if you really want to work on, just releasing stress from your body, there's ways you can focus on just that. It's not like you just listen to the music and disappear. You can be very intentional with it. But when you allow this music to help you shift out of the left brain, like I'm talking about, out of that monkey brain, I find it to be the easiest and most impactful form of meditation that I know. And for most people who struggle with meditation, they can do this.
It's wonderful.
So
I've known you 30 years, I believe, and
goodness.
it's incredible. And now, you know, it's interesting to me that you have this responsibility, almost, it feels like, where you really are mastering this and you're enlightening people. How did you come about? I mean, was it something that you constantly searched for things of meaning or things that relaxed you, or how did you come about this? Or did you just love music, or what was it? I never actually asked you that.
Yeah, well, I definitely have loved music since I was a kid, and I started playing the piano when I was I don't know, 8 or 9. Loved music, just had a passion for it, played lots of music through school and played in bands and college and fun things like that. And but I also, in my early 20s, got really into my spiritual path and meditation and healing work and just self-empowerment work. And eventually, I don't know, life is really amazing how it
is amazing.
How it guides you. So I went from just being a musician who loved to play piano to saying, wait a sec, I love how this healing music makes me feel. Why don't I explore that? And the more I delve deep into it, and I learned the ideas behind it and the healing frequencies, and then started to apply them in my life, and just it felt so good. I was like, I gotta share this. And I don't know, it's like you're a musician. We're just passionate about these things.
Passionate and sharing.
If I have a half a day off, I mean, I'll just play music, you know? I mean, it's just, the best.
Is what we experienced just now based in any Eastern more than Western? Is it go back centuries? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the idea of sound healing, especially the gong, the ancient gong is, been around thousands of years,
right,
which we'll play in a bit. That's a whole other type of resonance. That it's
and that was played back in the day as an instrument. It wasn't to summon people for dinner or anything like that.
It's a very profoundly spiritual instrument that's been used since the beginning of time to create sacred space.
Really?
And believe it or not, you see this in our culture now. When you think about the ceremonies that we hold, they all connect back to our ancient past and our primal beliefs and our primal earth-based religions, which would create all sorts of noise and loud noise. So you can think of Native American circles and the dancing and the shouting, and they would create lots of noise to literally create sacred space and cast out the evil spirits. And we look at this in our modern society now and we say, that's interesting, they did that 1,000 years ago, but we still do this. We just don't realize that we've slowly adapted over time. So think of any funeral with the gun salute, or any of our
or the
big
Catholic religion where you have the triangle.
Yes. So we're always bringing sound into our ceremonies to create sacred space. And the gong was an ancient tool for that. And it's been used throughout the centuries. So it's not just something you hit to summon people for dinner. No, it's very, very powerful. And when you play it, it literally, you can feel it shifting the energy of the room.
Yes, because it dissipates. And I find that you want to ride that out, that dissipation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I experienced that.
And it's very different than the bowls, which again are a very pure sine wave. The gong is multi-textural. It has overtones over overtones over overtones. So for our mind listening to it, it has a very different effect. And I play the gong by itself, not with other music, because of that. It's so powerful. And most people, when they hear the gong, it literally kind of expands their inner, sort of their third eye, if you would. It really opens up, feels like people feel like they sort of travel when they listen to the sound of the gong. It
Sure.
opens portals. I don't know where, but you just kind of, it brings you places.
I know you do some work with pathways.
Yes.
So
Pathways to Health and Matt.
Pathways to Health, right?
Yeah.
So have you experienced people that actually use I'm gonna introduce the word therapy here, to use this in place of talking to a therapist, because you may be one of those people that are very, you've got a wall up and
Yeah.
you don't want actually to interface with somebody, and you might
Absolutely.
even be a little bit obstinate. What do you know? And now this is more truthful to you, maybe?
I mean, I do one-on-one sessions with people who just want to come in and do like a healing session. So at Pathways, we do energy work, like, you know, you might be familiar with Reiki or.
Yes.
So that's basically just helping, you know, balance people's energetic fields and our different energy points on our bodies that are known as chakras. But I have people who come in and I'll just play music and help balance out their energy field.
Right.
And if they don't want to talk, that's fine. We
Exactly.
can just play music.
Right.
And that's very relaxing, very restorative.
And still a form of communication, by all means.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really interesting.
Now, we also, and there's many practitioners at Pathways who, and I've done this too, where I'll couple sort of we do a type of therapy there called hypnosynergistic therapy, where we do, if someone does want to talk, we'll use we call it a relaxed state or an altered state, which is another word for hypnosis, but helping someone really calm down through sound, through just guidance, and then whatever their issue, you know, that's
Sure,
presenting,
sure.
post-traumatic stress,
Sure.
or grief, or whatever it might be. But I'll do sessions sometimes where I'll play the sounds and help guide them through.
That's wonderful.
You know,
That's-
a
that's-
hypnosis
that's
session.
wonderful.
And there's also practitioners there that'll use tuning forks, which can be applied to organs, to your eyes, to your different meridians. It can be used almost like acupuncture,
Right.
opens up your meridians, and there's a very specific points on the body that you can take the vibration of the tuning forks and open up the energy field. So there's so many
It's
things
endless.
you can
Yeah,
do.
it's
It's
amazing.
endless. Yeah, yeah.
But what I love about it, it's thousands of years. I mean, it's almost like the beginning of time type stuff,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Yeah.
But it's so soothing. I really enjoyed it. So I'd love for you to do something else with us.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know? But if there's questions, we can take them from the audience as well.
Yeah.
I know Alina always has questions. I know you do.
Go ahead.
Well, how about you? I mean, what is your visceral reaction to the sounds? Like playing it. You know, we know how we feel, but what about you when you're playing?
It's amazing. And when I do a full concert, I usually play for about an hour or so. And I've many times had to catch myself because I thought like 20 minutes went by and I was like, oh boy, I better wrap this up, because I go into the vortex too, you know, you just get lost. I mean, you're musicians as well. I mean,
Oh,
you know,
sure.
when you're just in flow and you've been playing and you're like, oh my God, 4 hours have been gone by. It's that feeling. So I get as much out of playing as I do listening. I mean, I do sometimes love to let somebody else play and I'll go on my own journey. But, you know, when you're facilitating, you have to keep one foot in the present so I don't forget and
Sure.
just play one bowl for 30 minutes
Yeah, right,
as
sure.
I'm off in
You're
La La Land. So-
performing, but you're also partaking.
Yes, but I very much so get a lot out of playing, and on my own I'll play for hours sometimes. You know, I'll just be going and going, and I usually, if I'm doing a full concert, I set up my piano, and then so a lot of times I'll play some bowls or record some different bowl tracks, and then I kind of DJ them together, and I improvise on the spot. So if I feel like being a little more emotional with the piano, well, you came to one
Yes.
night where I can play the piano and then I can switch back and forth.
Yep.
And you know, I have sort of a little DJ setup where I can fire off tracks or turn things up and down, and I do it a little more
You know, it's-
on the spot, spontaneous. Tonight we're just trying to do a little demo, but when I set all that up, it's a little more versatile for me as the performer, that I can kind of have my own little
It's
game
interesting
there.
because there's a sound and light aspect to this that might not even be discovered yet, but you know, we'll figure that out.
What do you mean?
You know
Well,
Oh, yeah, light is huge, and that is the component I want to add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, even just the simple thing as putting down the lights worked, when you did
Oh,
that.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Light's
No,
important.
there's an there's energy on many levels going on.
Yes.
Sound, vibration, light, thought, emotion. So any other way to express or bring that out
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
just
it
adds
sounds
more
really
depth.
wonderful.
to it.
And one of my dreams is, and I told Kevin this, is to eventually try to bring this to a stage where there's great surround sound and lighting.
Yeah, you'll do
So
it.
we
You'll
can
do it.
really let the lights be part of the journey. As the music changes, the lights change, and that helps facilitate the journey of the
going
people
to
listening.
going to the experience. Like what you and I have talked about, like more than the show, the experience. Of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, look what, bands like, Pink Floyd and stuff.
Exactly.
They're as much about the light show as it is, that whole, like...
Yeah, I think that word experience comes in very much with Pink Floyd. They understand that, but it's a visceral thing. So I got even with the 7 or 8 minutes here, I think it's a good word. I felt internally it worked.
Yeah.
And not because I asked it to work, because it did. So that's cool. Any other
great.
questions from the
When
audience?
did you find yourself attracted to this kind of thing?
Well, I've been playing music since I was a kid, playing piano and playing in bands and all that. But I was telling Kevin, in my early 20s, I got really into meditation and my spiritual path and just empowerment work in general. And that sort of led me to this. At one point, I got introduced to a guy who led a chanting circle, like kirtan, like the sort of the Hindu chanting where you sing over and over and over again. And I helped him lead that. I would play the keyboard for him, the harmonium they call it, and he would lead the chants and the people would sing back and forth. And that's fun. I enjoy that. It's not my main gig that I enjoy, but I was like, wow, music was really that idea of chanting. And anything that's what's there's something about the simplicity of this music that's, again, it's meant to be played in sort of a rhythm and a pattern that your brain begins to say, oh, right, I recognize this, and here I am again. You're kind of circling, but you're spiraling. Your consciousness is expanding, but you're being brought back. And same thing with chanting, like the kirtans that I was part of. You're singing the same thing over and over and over. And that is a meditation for the mind. And there's a reason why we do that. By singing the name of God or whatever, spirit, in a chant over and over and over again, you lull yourself into this hypnotic state, right? It's giving the left brain something to focus on. Same thing with the rosary. I mean, I was raised Catholic, and not a lot of people. So that praying over and over of the prayers, the Hail Marys, the Our Fathers, it's a meditative process. It goes round and round and round and gives you a way to pull yourself into a deeper consciousness. So this music played in its simplicity, in a simple round, does the same thing. But chanting is another form of healing music. There's so many forms. I happen to like these simple healing music instruments, and I love playing piano and strings and orchestrating and writing things. So I coupled that with this. That was just my own take on it because I just enjoyed that. But a lot of sound healings that I've been to, which are absolutely phenomenal, might just be the bowls. They might just be gong and bowls and nothing else. But for me, it just, as a musician, I enjoyed the
you want to put your elements
multi-textures.
into it. Yeah, absolutely.
And I have, sometimes when I play, I have a big set of chimes, big chimes that I can play. And I have other bowls, Tibetan bowls, which are metal bowls that have a different resonance. So, you can go crazy. There's so many fun
These
instruments.
are crystals, is that correct?
Yes, quartz.
And, I guess I've known about them for quite some time, but I don't know the origin story. Do you?
I don't. I think they've evolved over the years, I don't know, like, who first started playing in this set, tuned to 432 per se. I should know that, but I don't. But this is just a scale of C, and each note corresponds to an energy center on our body. So the deep note of C is our root chakra, and as you go up the scale, it moves up. The F note is our heart, and then as you move up, it goes through your
Really?
throat and your third eye, and then your crown chakra.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you'll notice how each sound might affect you in different places. It's really fascinating.
It's fascinating.
With this music is that you might listen to it one day, say the F bowl, and it feels great and it washes over you and it just feels wonderful. And then another day you might have like something on your heart, literally, that you feel tension, and it just like it feels like almost a tension. A tension, but it's a good tension. Right? It's actually just, it's energy that's like wanting to move. It's like, picture a dam or in a river that's getting like lots of water and it's about to let go, and then finally it lets go, and you'll feel that release. But sometimes, every time I play, there's a different bowl that wants to sing out so loud, and there's other bowls that don't. And I was speaking with another sound healer once who did all sorts of healings in her home. So she always had the same setup, same walls, same everything around. And she said, depending on who was in her presence, different things would vibrate in the room. So she could only play certain bowls or the gongs at a certain volume before like the baseboards would start to vibrate. And then new people would come in and she could play that as loud as she wanted, because it's an interaction with the energy field of the people.
Wow. It sort of took some inventory of what was in the room.
It absolutely does. And there's times when I'll play a concert and certain bowls just want to,
that's amazing.
I'm like, I'm barely touching this thing, and I know that bowl is important for that night for whoever is with me. And then the bowls that are, I played one the other night, and every time I would get going, it made a vibration that I had never heard
That's
before.
amazing.
And I was like, all right, this isn't the sound for the people who are in front of me right now.
I don't think we even know enough about sound and how it affects people.
It has its own intelligence.
It does. I never even thought about it. But when you think about like a really annoying sound, like to be honest, a 12 o'clock whistle of the fire department, it's not a pretty sound, you know.
Right,
it's like,
right.
you know, if you're near it, I mean.
Right,
you know?
right. My
So-
dad's office was right across the street for years, so many a day.
Right?
It just blows your ears out.
Yeah, it blows your ears out. It's kind of not a pretty sound. It's not a soothing sound. But we probably hear things like that all the time. And then you mix them all together, and it could be, you know, you wonder why New Yorkers or New York City are just all hyped up. It's probably a lot to do with the sound and the bustle,
Oh my God!
right?
The chaos.
Screeches, breaks, you know, that kind of a thing. Completely not sort of circular like we just heard.
And why do we feel so good when we go and put our feet in the sand and listen to
The ocean.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just instantly, it has an effect on our nervous system, same way that this sound does.
It's unconscious.
And the waves, the rhythmic pattern of the waves does that too.
Right.
So yeah, anytime living in the city, I lived in the Bronx for a while, and your set point is so contracted just to like, because if you're too open, it's too much stimulus. You have to kind of protect yourself from the energy.
No
it's
doubt.
too chaotic. So you put up the barrier, you know. But whereas when you're in the woods, in the forest, or on a mountaintop, it's easy to be open.
By
and
the same
relaxed.
token, have you ever heard of these experiments where they put people in a room and there's absolutely no sound and people go insane?
Yeah.
There's no sound. They can't make sound. They just have themselves, and you do that for 3 days and you go insane.
I found when I lived in the Bronx, which was sirens and noise and cars and traffic all night long, all day long,
You were stimulated.
I got used to that.
Correct.
So you habituate that. But when I'd come back here and it was so quiet at
Probably
my
couldn't
parents' house,
sleep.
yeah, it took an adjustment to get used to the quiet
A
again.
little eerie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
Very cool.
But,
Well, thank you. You know, I've really enjoyed this.
yeah,
and
well, we're gonna do another round.
yeah. Let's do
That
another
way,
round.
you sleep well tonight.
Thank
know?
you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Are we good?
From this huge audience tonight.
When you do the live, do you do any live loop?
Yeah.
You loop it,
Yeah.
and then you can come out and play over it.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I haven't done too much. I've done some of where like I'll just create it right then and there and loop it. But what I tend to do is create some loops in the beforehand that I can fire off and pull in and out, just with my mixer.
Very cool.
But yeah, it's fun.
What's your longest piece?
My longest piece?
Yeah, your longest single piece. 25, 30 minutes?
That we have here?
Not so much here. Just.
Oh, well, my longest piece that I have sort of chained together is my most recent concert. It's about an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is therapy for an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a story for an hour or a session.
When people hear that sometimes and they show up and like, oh my God, an hour I got to sit here and listen, and I always assure them, I'm like, trust me,
I'm
it
begging
goes
you
so
to get me for an hour.
Well, you came
because I don't do anything for an hour.
You came for probably half an hour
True.
to my last one,
True,
right?
I did.
It goes really quick, and people like, they don't believe me that it was an hour, and then they look at their phone and they're like, oh my God. Yeah. So it's a neat way to really meditate on music. If we go to a concert or something, right, we're just so into the moment, and this is like really focusing on that. So in a concert, you might talk with your friends, you might go
you got
drive
popcorn
around,
on, all
drinking
kinds of
beers,
things are
whatever,
happening,
right? You're dancing, whatever. But when you really, really let yourself just focus on the music, and you don't have to do anything more than just notice how it feels. Notice how the sound's hitting you. Just breathe. And of course, our mind's going to want to go off here and there. And we can just gently bring ourselves back. When I do like the hour-long set, there's different textures, and as soon as you're kind of getting used to one movement, we switch to something else to continually keep the mind engaged. But it's an easy practice to relax yourself, and it's a lot of fun, and I look forward to.
Absolutely. Let's go back into
maybe,
Zen.
If I need a guitar player one day or something,
I can certainly lay down tracks. That's for sure. And I can make
no,
them
live.
I can make them mellow. They don't have to move in 8th or 16th notes.
That's great. No, you're not shredding up and down.
We could do that trill a couple of times, but I can also do the other way.
Good.
Who does that very well is actually the Pink Floyd guitarist, David Gilmour, which is why I love him so much. He creates that feeling that we've been talking about just now.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Nice.
That's what makes him special. All right, let's go to it.
Great.